Yeah, please, we are live now.
Good morning, everyone. The novel coronavirus, COVID-19, has brought to the forefront new challenges and therefore opportunities in our lifetime. While we often feel invisible without advanced technology, it is it is times like these that reminds us we are powerless against nature. Millions of people around the world working from home and watching news are stuck inside and feel disconnected from this environment. But the reality is the opposite. Our impact on this planet over the past generation has a direct connection to the spread of this disease. As we expose ourselves to animals and plants in the wild and bring wildlife into urban areas, as part of this wildlife trade, we increase the ways zoonotic diseases can hop from animals to humans. In our crowded world, viruses with high mutation rates can quickly switch host in new ecosystems. In particular, the unregulated nature of illegal wildlife trade provided easy opportunities for pathogens to spread. In 2012, journalist Jim Robbins wrote a prophetic piece in the New York Times. Disease, he observed, is largely an environmental issue. 60% of emerging infectious diseases that affect humans are zoonotic. They originate in animals, and more than 2/3 of those originate in wildlife. Now, let us look up to Almighty Father. At this time of coronavirus pandemic crisis, no more zoonotic, and help us to retain our biodiversity for future sons and daughters of Mother Earth. Let us listen to Teri Aradhana song sung by Dr. Anida V.K. Anand, Department of Chemistry.
तेरी
ma'am, for the wonderful song. Beyond the many lessons, we will learn about public health and safety. We must keep in mind the impact we have on our environment. This too shall pass, and one day soon, we will look back on COVID-19 as a part of history. Let us not take this lesson for granted and use this time to re-evaluate our actions on this planet and make sustainable choices now. I would like to invite our honorable principal, patron, St. John's College, Agra, Professor S.P. Singh Sir, who is the motivator for this webinar to introduce International Webinar Lecture 4 to delegates from India and abroad. So, please.
Thank you, Dr. Suzette Verghese. I really wish to take this opportunity to welcome all the resource persons and the participants in this webinar on biodiversity. I also take this opportunity to congratulate the Department of Chemistry for organizing a webinar on such a critical theme right after the World Environment Day. So yesterday we celebrated the World Environment Day, and as those concerns are still fresh in our mind, we have before us a webinar on biodiversity. We have a highly qualified panel of experts before us. We have Dr. M.M. Sharma, a very senior officer of Indian Forest Service, who works as a principal conservator of forest in Gujarat and is also heading the biodiversity project there. A man who is very actively involved in biodiversity conservation and has a great deal of field experience. Unfortunately, he would not be able to make it live today, but we'll have a recorded message from him. We have live on the panel today, Dr. Girish Maheshwari, Head Department of Zoology, St. John's College, an entomologist by training, who has done extensive work on the life in high altitude Himalayas, especially in Ladakh region, and his long experience as a geologist gives him an immense and enriching perspective on biodiversity. We also would like to welcome the other panel on the expert, Head Department of Botany, St. John's College, Dr. Samuel Gordon Singh, who would, a plant scientist, who would bring his perspectives on biodiversity. It is indeed, biodiversity is extremely significant for us because we are not the lone inhabitants on this planet. And being the most powerful, sentient, thinking creatures, it becomes incumbent on us as a part of our responsibility in this planet. They call this idea in biodiversity discourse as eco-cosmopolitanism, understanding that all species have a right to this planet almost as much as we have. During the period of lockdown, a lot of people from different cities reported that they saw those birds, they saw those species of animals which they thought had become extinct or they hadn't seen for last 1 decade or so. Discussion on this issue is extremely significant because with the advent of green revolution, with the advent of new technology, with genetic modification, there has been a tendency of monoculture where one species is privileged over every other. And the value of each species is viewed only with the utilitarian perspective. But probably each species has its own unique role in its ecosystem. And we might make grievous errors of judgment if we make our planet inhospitable for any one of them. So biodiversity remains an essential part of discourse, which is essential, which is very critical for survival of human species or life on this planet Earth. With this, I once again congratulate the Department of Chemistry and welcome everyone to this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your words of wisdom and welcoming our delegates to this participants and introducing the webinar to our participants. Now, UN called this 2020 a super year for nature and biodiversity. Perhaps amongst the devastation caused by COVID-19, we will find the time and energy to consider our impact on this planet and its biodiversity. So, to talk more about the biodiversity, let me introduce, already Professor S.P. Singh sir told about Sri M.M. Sharma IFS to, he is the one of the resource persons of this webinar today. And he is the Principal Chief Conservator of Forest, Gujarat, and also the Chairman, Gujarat Biodiversity Board. Last year, Sri M.M. Sharma was our guest of honor for 3rd International Conference on Recent Advances in Environmental Protection, organized by Department of Chemistry, St. John's College, Agra, on the occasion of celebration of Golden Jubilee Year of Chemical Society, Department of Chemistry, St. John's College, Agra. He is an alumnus of our college. He did his undergraduation and post-graduation courses from 81 to 83 and 83 to 85, respectively, from our college. So, really, we are proud and privileged to have you today, although he is not joined on Zoom platform live with us, but he would join us. He has already sent his recorded talk that we will be able to listen a few minutes from now. Because of his some other engagements, he could not join us. Hence, let us listen to his recorded talk. Sri M.M. Sharma. I would like to share screen for that.
Friends, today we'll be talking about biodiversity loss due to anthropogenic activity. Let us begin by trying to understand the vast expanse of biodiversity. Between 40 to 18 lakh species have been scientifically identified. Total number of animal and plant species on Earth is estimated to be 80 lakhs, which includes 55 lakh insect species. Scientists expect the upper limit of species on the planet at 10 crores. Of these, more than 20,000 are being described every year. There are almost 6,000 known species of amphibians, 10,000 known bird species, 5,500 known mammals, and more than 3 lakh known species of plants. Invertebrates like butterflies, mollusks, earthworms, corals, etc. are vastly diverse, and though no one knows just how many invertebrate species exist, they are estimated to account for about 97% of the total species of animals on Earth. It is pertinent to note that these increments have taken place alongside the 5 extinction events and the background rate of extinction. This diversity is arranged in a certain manner on the planet. Average precipitation and average temperature acting together as limiting factors over a long time help to determine the type of desert, grassland, or forest in a particular area. assuming it has not been disturbed by human activity. The Earth's major biomes, each characterized by a certain combination of climate and dominant vegetation, result primarily from differences in climate. Each biome contains many ecosystems whose communities have adapted to difference in climate, soil, and other environmental factors. People have removed or altered much of the natural vegetation in some areas for farming, livestock grazing, obtaining timber, and fuel mining, construction of towns and cities. Now the question that what has biodiversity to do with human life and its quality begs answering. Well, for one, all kinds of economic activity takes place within the ecological space. The economic space is a subset of ecological space. Therefore, GDP, growth, development, etc. are all dependent upon the health and efficient functioning of the ecological space. Biodiversity is the signature of that ecological space. Biodiversity provides excellent conditions for and drives the processes that sustain species survival. It is a life-supporting system. It plays a major role in meeting human needs directly while maintaining the ecological processes upon which our survival depends. It provides inputs for agriculture without which production either would not occur or would be greatly decreased. It provides for ecological, economic, and cultural values to the world's community. It is a national asset and a powerful contributor to economic development, provision of natural resource, ecological processes, and improving human well-being. India is a mega diverse country with only 2.4% of the world's land area. It accounts for 78% of all recorded species, including over 45,000 species of plants, 91,000 species of animals. The country's diverse physical features and climatic conditions have resulted in a variety of ecosystems such as forests, wetlands, grasslands, desert, coastal and marine ecosystems, which harbor and sustain high biodiversity and contribute to human well-being. 4 of 34 globally identified biodiversity hotspots, the Himalayas, the Western Ghats, the Northeast, and the Nicobar Islands can be found in India. A biodiversity hotspot, by definition, contains high degree of endemism with at least 1,500 endemic species. Biodiversity is highly vulnerable to habitat fragmentation, habitat loss, and climate change. An increasing number of ecosystems, including areas of high biodiversity, are going to be disrupted by a temperature rise of 2 degrees centigrade or more above pre-industrial levels. Roughly 10% of the species will face an increasingly high risk of extinction for every 1 degree centigrade rise in global mean surface temperature. Wetlands, mangroves, coral reefs, Arctic ecosystems, and cloud forests are particularly vulnerable to climate change. Without strong mitigation action, some cloud forests and coral reefs would cease to function within a few decades. Trade shifts will result in new community assemblages, new associations among species, and promote interactions among species that have not existed in the past. Changes in the spatial distribution and seasonal timing of flora and fauna within marine, aquatic, and terrestrial environments can result in trophic mismatches and asynchronies. Novel species assemblages can also substantially alter ecosystem structure and function, and the distribution of ecosystem services. Changes in terrestrial, plant, and animal species ranges are shifting the location and extent of biomes, altering ecosystem structure and functioning. There is increasing evidence of population declines and localized extinctions that can be directly attributed to climate change. Ecological specialists and species that live at high altitudes and latitudes are particularly vulnerable to climate change. Unlike past mass extinctions caused by events like asteroid strikes, volcanic eruptions, and natural climate shifts, the current crisis is almost entirely caused by us humans. In fact, 99% of the currently threatened species are at risk from human activity. primarily those driving habitat loss, introduction of exotic species, and global warming. Because the rate of change in our biosphere is increasing and because every species extinction potentially leads to extinction of others bound to that species, the complex ecological web, number of extinctions are likely to snowball in the coming decades as ecosystems are. Our planet is now in the midst of its sixth mass extinction of plants and animals, the sixth wave of extinction in the past half billion years. Although extinction is a natural phenomenon, it occurs at a natural background rate of about 1 to 5 species per year. Unfortunately, we are now losing species at up to 1,000 times the background rate, with literally dozens going extinct every day. As many as 30 to 50% of all species are possibly heading towards extinction by next century. Almost one-third of reef farming corals, sharks, and shark relatives, more than one-third of marine mammals are threatened with extinction. 50% of live coral cover of reefs have been lost since the 1870s in the past 150 years. About 62% of the world's major terrestrial ecosystems are being degraded or used unsustainably. At least 680 vertebrate species have been driven to extinction since the 16th century, and more than 9% of all domesticated breeds of mammals used for food and agriculture have become extinct by 2016, with at least 1,000 more breeds under threat. No group of animals at a higher rate of endangerment than amphibians. Scientists estimate that a third or more of all the roughly 6,300 known species of amphibians are at risk of extinction. Because of their sensitivity to environmental changes, vanishing amphibians should be viewed as the canary in the global coal mine, signaling subtle yet radical ecosystem changes that could ultimately claim many other species, including humans. Majority of our closest relatives, the primates, are severely endangered. For 90% of primates live in tropical forests that fast disappearing. The IUCN estimates that 50% of the world's primate species are at risk of extinction. 25% is the average proportion of species threatened with extinction across terrestrial, freshwater, and marine, vertebrate, invertebrate, and plant groups that have been studied in sufficient detail. 10% is the tentative estimate of the proportion of insect species threatened with extinction and decline in average abundance of native species in most major terrestrial biomes. More than 20%, mostly since 1990. More than 85% of the wetlands present in 1700 have been lost by the year 2000. The loss of wetlands is currently 3 times faster than forest loss in percentage terms. Increase in land transformation to agriculture between 1992 and 2015, mostly at the expense of forests, is pegged at 3%. Loss of biodiversity, ecosystem degradation, and climate change affect the environment, development, and security issues. They undermine food, water, and human security, the economy by way of loss of natural capital, poverty alleviation and livelihoods of the poor, human health, personal, national, and regional security. Biodiversity loss, ecosystem degradation, and climate change are inter- and intra-generational equity issues. Since the actions of today will affect future generations and poor people are the most vulnerable. The biodiversity framework and new decadal targets for biodiversity are to be decided in late 2020 in China under the auspices of the UN Convention on Biological Diversity. Unlike the mass extinction events of geological history, the current extinction challenge is one for which single species, ours, is to be almost fully responsible. So without arguing about who is right or what the exact numbers are, there can be little debate that there is indeed a very serious biodiversity crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, Sri M. Sharma ji, for your wonderful talk on. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yes. Wonderful talk on sustainable development and biodiversity. So he spoke through his presentation the large-scale patterns of biological diversity, climate change and biomes, and climate change caused by anthropogenic interferences and interventions, and values of biodiversity, and health and growth of life-supporting system of many communities. And so you have given a detailed report about the extinguished species of animals and insects. Thank you very much for giving a valuable input into this topic of biodiversity and sustainable development. Once again, thank you very much, sir. Now we move on. Our next speaker on today's webinar is Dr. Girish Maheshwari, Head Department of Zoology, School of and Head School of Entomology, Coordinator IQSC, St. John's College, Agra. Sir has been the chairperson and invited speaker of our all international conferences we held in Department of Chemistry, St. John's College, organized by St. John's College, Agra. And so once again, we would like to hear from you on this occasion of International Webinar Series. And to introduce him formally, I would request Dr. Rajavi John, co-convener of this webinar and associate professor of Department of Chemistry, to come.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Am I audible?
Yes, yes. Yes.
Oh. Good afternoon, everyone. It is my pleasure to introduce our second speaker of today's webinar, Dr. Girish Maheshwari, Head School of Entomology, Department of Geology, St. John's College, Agra, who will be speaking on insect biodiversity of Northwest Himalaya, a case study. Sir, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks to you for accepting our invitation for becoming a resource person for this webinar. Dr. Girish Maheshwari is a proud alumnus of this college. He did his graduation in 1980 and post-graduation in 1982 from St. John's College, Agra. He completed his PhD in entomology from Agra University, Agra, presently known as Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University, Agra, in 1988. And after that, postdoc from Museum of Geology, Bergen University, Norway. Dr. Maheshwari has more than 60 research publications to his credit in various international and national journals of national and international repute. He is the author of various books, memoirs, and reports. Dr. Maheshwari is a very dynamic and great researcher. His great contribution in research is on DNA sequencing. He has more than 70 publications on DNA sequencing with NCBI. He has worked on about 8 research projects sponsored by different organizations like DST, UGC, ICMR, DBT, and also in coordination with AIACH. He has various research collaborations with national and international institutes situated in Chennai, Dehradun, Hisar, France, and Australia. He has an expertise on various equipments like real-time PCR, 96 well PCR, gel dock system, nanospectrophotometer, subshell DT, and various other instruments. Dr. Maheshwari is recipient of more than 10 honors and awards from various national and international organizations and societies. He has produced 18 PhD and at present 4 students are working under his able guidance. Dr. Maheshwari has visited various international institutes like Museum of Geology, University of Bergen, Norway, Hungarian National Museum, Budapest, Hungary, and Institute of Hydrobiology, Amsterdam, Netherlands. He has organized various seminars, conferences, and workshops in the capacity of convener. He has attended various workshops organized by national and international organizations and about 22 congresses and conferences. Sir, we heartily welcome you. I am sure that the participants of this webinar will definitely be benefited by your valuable talk. Thank you very much, sir, for being with us. Thank you. Now, over to Dr. Girish Maheshwari, sir. Thank you.
Sir, you need to unmute yourself. Girish, sir.
Dr. Girish Maheshwari, sir. Dr. Girish Maheshwari, sir, is going to speak on insect biodiversity of Northwest Himalayas, a case study. He has done many projects of DBT and UGC based on this theme. He is the best person to talk about biodiversity found in Northeast Himalayas. Moreover, more than 80 DNA species have been identified and have been published. That is the best task he could perform under his headship in Department of Entomology. Sir, we welcome you and we request you to kindly start your talk on insect biodiversity.
Dr. Susan, I'll connect to him and troubleshoot what is the problem.
Yes.
Meanwhile, can we introduce the other speaker,
yes.
Dr. S.G. Singh, and ask him to make?
Yes. Now, since meanwhile, we'll like to introduce our third speaker of the day, that is Dr. S.G. Singh, Head Department of Botany, Director Botanical Society, St. John's College, Agra, on the topic biodiversity and sustainable development. I would like to call upon Dr. Mohammad Anis, co-convener of this webinar, Associate Professor, Department of Chemistry, St. John's College, Agra, to introduce Dr. S.G. Singh formally. Dr. Mohammad Anis.
Hello, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. You're audible. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, ma'am, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Samuel Gordon Singh. First of all, I am grateful to you to give me a chance on this platform,
Yeah,
definitely.
thanks.
And let me introduce Dr. Samuel Gordon Singh is a Sanjonian,
Yes, sir.
and he completed his graduate and postgraduate from St. John's College and PhD from Meerut University. He worked on the orchids of Northwest Himalaya. And Samuel Gordon Singh ji traveled extensively throughout the India and participated in number of conferences and present number of papers in international and national conferences. And he delivered a number of talks in seminars and conferences, and more than 50 research papers goes to his credit in national and international repute of journals. And he supervised more than 11 PhD scholars under his able guidance. and he is very dynamic and energetic person, you know, and number of research projects, major research projects he's completed of UGC, okay, and under his leadership, Botanical Society of these departments on the peak of the, I think he's very popular. Botanical Society is very popular under his leadership, no doubt at all. And he is a member of a number of societies such as Orchid Society of India, Academy of Plant Sciences, Botanical Society of India, and number of societies. He had also awarded number of awards from different platform. He got it, and he is also actively engaged in number of activities of the college, as we have seen in always in the examination, very energetic, as he is very energetic, so he is always in examination every year, and under various capacity he contributed a lot in the college. And I think since 2015 he is the head of the botany department, and under his able leadership, botany department, no doubt at all, is working very well. And yesterday he conducted a international webinar, and in my opinion, he is one of the most successful webinar conference, international webinar conference yesterday. And he is also very social. Presently, he is the secretary of our St. John's College Teacher Association. He's very dynamic person, no doubt at all. So I say now to over to Susan ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much,
Okay,
sir, for
thanks.
introducing Dr. S.J. Singh, Head Department of Botany, Director BOTSO, to our delegates. Meanwhile, okay, thank you very much, sir. Now it's over to Dr. Girish Maheshwari, sir, Head Department of Zoology, Head Department of School of Entomology, and Director Zoological Society, St. John's College, Agra.
Can we give him a few more minutes, Dr.
Yes. Now I would like to invite Dr. S.J. Singh, Head Department of Botany, to speak on biodiversity and sustainable development.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You are audible.
So I can start now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Over to Dr. Girish Maheshwari, sir, Head Department.
Yeah. So I can share the screen?
Yes, sir.
Sure, sir.
Now, very good afternoon, all of you friends.
Good afternoon, sir.
So I think I am audible or not?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, thanks so much. Now, I'm extremely thankful to the Department of Chemistry. Those have invited me for this talk. And friends, the biodiversity basically a wonderful field in these days, and everybody is talking about this. And if you can see, now basically when we are talking about the biodiversity, a picture comes in the mind that number of species we are going to calculate. Now, that is not enough. We have to do explore more parameter once we are going to do the biodiversity. Now, one of them is the species richness in relation to their compatibility. And beside this, their ecological aspect should be calculated. And as per my opinion, the genotypic biodiversity is essential now. Now, friends, beside this, there is one parallel pattern. Formation of new species we should also consider. Now, in this specific case study, I have chosen the area of Himalaya, especially the high elevation. Now, there is a confusion between two terms which I am going to make clear. Rheophilic and hypsobite. Generally, you go to the Arctic region and Antarctic region. The total species is known as the rheophilic, means cold loving. But in the Himalaya, things is very different. They are not the rheophilic, basically they are hypsobiote. And what is the meaning of hypsobiote? They are cold loving as well as they are having very specific character. If you can see this graph, if you are studying a wetland at a height of 5,000 meters, the oxygen pressure is almost half. So therefore, these species not simply cold loving, but also having a capability of survive in the low oxygen tension. Now, all the wetlands of that region we have investigated, and majorly we have classified into two groups, freshwater and saline water wetland of the Himalaya. Now we have analyzed all sort of heavy metals and related parameter, and for that I am extremely grateful to the chemistry department. Those have done for me. Now friends, the first factor in this zone, let me say some factors related to the biodiversity. First factor in those zone is basically snow cover. Now what is the snow cover indeed doing in that area? This is a protective layer. If there is no snow cover, I can give you a guarantee that 90% biodiversity of Himalaya will be over. Because low temperature means dehydration. And the snow cover basically providing moisture in the soil, which provides life to the all sorts of insects. And beside that, insulation. If you go inside the snow cover, the temperature will be nearby 1 to 4 degrees centigrade. So they are basically a parameter which help in the surviving of the Himalayan insects. If you see this particular group, in the winter zone, the whole area is covered by the glaciers. And this is basically providing a protection to all sort of biodiversity of the Himalaya. But as soon as there is a commencement of autumn, the periphery of the glaciers will be activated. Now this will be most active part of the Himalaya in the autumn. All the insect, all the animal, they are coming to this region, they are propagating, and they are going for the reproduction also. If just imagine one thing, if there is no snow cover or snow cover is so high that it is not going to melt out in the autumn, then what may be the possibility? Now possibility is this, in the such condition, you see the crystallization. The crystallization water will take place. Just imagine certain things may happen when this is the situation. In low temperature, what happens? If you see the cells of the animal, around the cell, there is an extracellular fluid which will be freezed and animal will die. The another possibility is this: the freezing is within the cell, again may kill the animal. So now just try to understand this phenomena. At the low temperature, what may happens? In this case, around the cell, water will be crystallized and the wall of cell will be ruptured and diversity will be over. Now, what animal can do in this condition? Either animal should die or he has to develop a new genes which can produce cryoprotectant. Cryo means cold. How it can be protected from the cold? Now there is two possibilities. Two kind of cryoprotectant can be generated by the genes. One is the non-penetrating, other is the penetrating. In the penetrating, things is different. They will enter into the cell body and prevent the freezing of the protoplasm. But in another case, if this is the non-penetrating cryoprotectant, it will remain around the cell and prevent the crystallization of extracellular fluid. It means a new species has been formed. Another important aspect in this case, once the crystal formation is there, the viscosity of cell membrane can protect the animal. So viscosity can be generated by the new genes. It means another species has been formed. Now, what may be the other procedures to protect? If we can remove the water from the body of insects, means from the cell, what will happen? There will be no water and there will be no crystallization within the cell and animal can survive. Now for this, we do need a protein, porin protein, which can make the pore in the cell wall. So now just imagine, from a single factor, thousands changes may occur in the insect. And here in this case, what happens? A new gene has been formed, which can produce protein, which can heat up the cell. Now, therefore, a single change has radiate into so many species. Now, the another things which I would like to tell you, the picture I would like to say, this kind of crystallization can kill the cell. This kind of crystallization may kill the tissues. Now, penetrating, I think the chemistry people may understand very well. There is a series of chemicals. Those can help in the prevention of life, like glycerol, ethylene, glycol. These are the certain chemicals being produced by the insects, and they are cryoprotectant. Similarly, non-penetrating, there is a series of groups, like the saccharides. A number of saccharides are there. Those can help the animal in the protection. Now, friends, beside this, I would like to share something very different. So far, I'm talking about the cold and snow covered. Now, just imagine defragmentation of habitat. Just see this particular wetland. It is having so many inlets. And these inlets carries the water from the other stream to the wetland. due to the avalanche or any other reason, if the stream is blocked, what will happen? Defragmentation of habitats. All the animal living in that particular stream will die. But the stream will change in a different direction. It will provide new habitats. It may produce new species. A very wonderful example of 2008, I would like to share. The Kyagar, this is a wetland in the Ladakh zone. And the whole wetland is obliterated with the avalanches. So all the deep species are vanished and water has gone to the shoreline. And you will be surprised, a new species has been formed, Corynoneura, which can survive on the periphery. Now, this is a Surastal, basically a wonderful zone at Baralacha Pass. You can see in the month of July, whole water is covered with the snow. And this particular wetland supports more than 25 species of Dimesa. Now, these species cannot emerge out because the area is covered with the snow. Now, what they needed? A species which can move towards the shoreline and wriggles out rather than going to fly. So a new species is formed again. A different kind of example. See this wetland, half is covered with the snow and half is open. Now this group is what supported by the Podonomus group. And now what happens? This area which is not even going to clean in the summer, a new species has been formed over here. Similarly, in this case, now, see this particular area, I'm just going to point out, these are obliterated and having very high specific saprobic index. Now, this saprobic index has developed a new species, which cannot fly, although it has wing, but it cannot fly. It is gyrating in this region. It means all these processes are going to form new species. Just outlet of the Chantal, my most familiar wetland of Ladakh. This is basically our tent. We have studied at the outlet, and there are numerous microclimates, and these microclimates are responsible to form the new species. Now, very interesting phenomena I would like to discuss with two wetlands. They are known as the twin wetlands. One is the Sokar, other is the Starspuk. Now, Starspuk is highly saline. This particular wetland is highly saline. This is fresh water. And they are connected with the outlet. Now, just imagine, we are having three zones: fresh water, buffer zone, and saline water. And this buffer zone particularly is a source of speciation, because there is a different kind of ecological factors. Those are governing the formation of new species. Now, similarly, in the Pongong Tso, which is now in the quite limelight, due to that China has created a lot of problem in this zone. And today, I think there is a big meeting related to this. I spent almost 21 days in that particular wetland, biggest wetland of the Northwest Himalaya. This is the saline, and it is going to enter by several streams, each stream providing ecological niche, which is going to produce the new species. So basically, the Sarchuri, an isolated lake and highly saline. Even you can compare this water with the marine condition. Another interesting things which I would like to share with you, this is particularly Puga Valley, which is again interrupted by the Chinese soldier many times. This particular zone has two very ecological zones: a cold water of minus temperature and thermal streams of 90 degrees centigrade. So two parallel groups are evolving over here. It is supporting a different kind of species. It is supporting very distinct thermophilic species. Now, friends, now one thing I would like to tell you, diversity count doesn't mean that we can saying only the destruction of species. But parallelly, we have to think about the formation of species, which is renewation of the biome. Now, in this zone, we have basically discovered nearby 83 species, and we have calculated their biodiversity. And three types of biodiversity we have calculated on the basis of species. One is the Simpson, which is nearby 0.97. Now, in this biodiversity specifically, if it is less than 1, then the biodiversity is healthy. In this case also, Shannon-Wiener biodiversity, it is again less than 1. All our three biodiversity calculated in the zone are less than 1. It means biodiversity is healthy form. There is no danger, no extinction at all. Now, friends, as I told you, there is a time to study the biodiversity of genome. Now, 83 species we have done on the DNA label, and all the DNA sequencing we have submitted to the NCBI, that is the Gene Bank, USA. Now, what we are facing at present, we do not have any data to compare. So what we have done, we have sent in the NCBI, deposited in the Gene Bank, and therefore they are available to all the future workers for the reference. So my suggestion is this is the time to study the genome biodiversity so that we can preserve it nicely. Now, these are the DNA sequencing we have submitted to the NCBI. Now, friends, another things I would like to tell you. During this study, I got roughly 3 research projects on the wetland from DST. There is a certain indication which can say about the stress condition of wetlands. Now, basically, we see these figures, they are deformed. And if they are deformed, this particular area indicate male-female part has become a single animal, and we are calling it gynendomorphism. Now, this indicates that particular wetlands is stressed, and we have to take care of this. Now, another important factor which we have to consider. In this stress, two kinds of things may occur. There may be DNA damage, or there may be mutation. If there is the DNA damage, then the progress of the species is ceased. It is vanished. It will not be biologically active. But if it is a mutation, it's a good sign. The species can go for the evolution. It can evolve. Now, there are certain things which I would like to share with you. We are having more than a dozen national institutions. Those are supposed to compare the data and collect the data for the future. But this is the unfortunate part, that data are not available to compare the biodiversity. And another things, loss of biodiversity is a natural phenomena. If you see in the evolution, during this period, 5 mass extinction has occurred. And in each mass extinction, 80% species are lost. Now, last extinction, that was the Cretaceous extinction, nearby 66 billion years ago, 82% species were destroyed. So it means it is a natural phenomena. It may be due to the any reason. Now, so my suggestion is this: there is a number of citation. People are panic. Some statement are there saying in coming 20 years, everything will be over, all the biodiversity will be finished. So I'm telling you, this is not possible. Because a very wonderful slogan, there's the solution in the nature. And nature is going to make the solution. So nothing is going to happen in the coming 20 years. Our biodiversity will remain intact and live. But we have to do something. One is the population and natural resources. Unwisely, our is going to increase. Are limited. I'm saying limited because it may finish, it may vanish. So they are limited. So don't think any of our resources is not unlimited. They are limited indeed. And 7 billion people are consuming it. Can you imagine what may be the situation? Now, this is the problem. We have to think on that line. People are saying there is the coming anthropogenic mass extinction is possible. It is possible. And I'm telling you, if we are only calculating the loss of species, it is possible. If we are considering the formation of new species, it is not possible. Because new species are going to renew our biodiversity. See, after each successive mass extinction, we flourish like anything. Last Cretaceous extinction has given the mammal, human. Human has been evolved only after this. So, till there is no extinction, there is no possibility of any evolution. Now, my suggestion is this: we have to use our biodiversity up to a considerable level, not beyond the threshold level. Once it is above the threshold level, there will be certain problems. Now, friends, this is basically a corona zone, and you will be surprised. SARS-CoV virus second is a virus for the COVID. It has evolved. There is more than a dozen serotypes within a year. So the rate of species formation is very high. So we cannot say that we are going to finish, the biodiversity is going to be vanished, and there will be crisis. There will be no crisis. Our biodiversity survive for the millions of years, but we have to take certain steps to prevent some malpractices. Now, most significant one, control of population. We have to think on that line, because none of the politician is thinking on that line, because there is certain reason, certain political reason, and therefore don't get panic, be happy. Our biodiversity will be survive for the longer and longer, for the millions of years. This is my suggestion, and this is my submission. So friends, finally, I would like to thank you very much to Dr. Sujan and our Professor S.P. Singh Saab, the principal of St. John's, who has given me this opportunity. And I have given my ideas, because we are people of biodiversity, so we know what may happen. We are not the politician. So our statement will be balanced. We'll think about the destination also, We will think about the production also. We will think about genome also. Think about the ecology also. So I can give you guarantee nothing is going to happen with our diversity. There will be renewation of the diversity, and our whole things, whole diversity, including the human, will survive for millions of years. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you very much, sir.
If there is any question, I will be happy to reply.
Yes, sir. Now, sir, question answer time. We'll after Dr. S.J. Singh's talk, we'll have kept it. So be with us on this Zoom platform, sir.
Right.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
For giving a very vivid description about biodiversity found in Northeast Himalaya. And sir, you are very optimistic, and thank you very much for convincing our delegates and assuring that this biodiversity is not going to extend, it will remain, and it will get mutated in different forms, and genes will get mutated, and we may have many more in the years to come. Especially, you have really opened a forum for research in the field of genome biodiversity. So you are a person who have identified 70 DNA of different species and published that matter. And you also have a grievance that you don't have available data to compare and to have comparison and comparative study. So I hope your data will be considered as a standard data so that other researchers, the young generation, may use this data as a standard one, and they will compare it with their own data, and this will remain, and it will become a history of Department of Entomology and Department of Zoology and Department of St. John's College. And sir, thank you very much for being with us and enlightening.
Thank you so much, Susan.
Enlightening our viewers with the new scope and new ideas of research. Thank you very much,
Thank
sir.
you.
Once again. So we would move to now Professor Dr. S.P. To Dr. Samuel Gordon Singh, Head Department of Botany and Director of Botanical Society, for his wonderful talk on biodiversity and sustainable development. He was also with us in early international conferences we conducted in Department of Chemistry. So once again, we would like to hear from you on a topic, biodiversity and sustainable development. Over to you, Dr. Samuel Gordon.
A very good afternoon, Susan ma'am and all. And I would like to share the screen if you please provide.
Yes, sir. Share screen option is there. Sir, I would request Dr. Girish Maheshwari sir to stop the share screen. There is an option at the top. Stop share screen. Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Now it's over to Dr. Samuel Gordon Singh.
First of all, I am very much thankful to our principal, Professor S.P. Singh, sir. Is it audible to all?
Yes, sir.
The patron of this e-webinar and the organizers of this international webinar series, Lecture 4, especially the Department of Chemistry of our college, and Dr. Susan Varghese, Head Department of Chemistry and convener of this webinar, for inviting me especially as a resource person. I'm glad to see my fellow colleagues, Dr. Girish, he's here with us today and shared wonderful talk and put so many data of his research. And the sharing of Dr. M.M. Sharma, it was also wonderful. We learned a lot. The topic for today's webinar, on which I'm going to speak, is biodiversity strategy planning in a sustainable development context. Since yesterday only we have celebrated World Environment Day, and this theme is very much the topic of my talk is very much close to that. And as Dr. Girish also told, that the solution, the problem, the solution of problem is found within nature. This is what biodiversity tells us. So biodiversity refers to diversity or refers to the number and variety of life forms found within a specified geographical area. And biodiversity is a variety of various living organisms present on Earth, their interaction and interrelationship. And this includes the different plants, animals, and microorganisms, the genes they contain, and the ecosystem they form. We can say as variety of life on Earth is called as biodiversity. So the living wealth is the product of hundreds of millions of years of evolutionary study. There are mainly three types of biodiversity, as we know. This is genetic diversity, species diversity, ecosystem diversity, and human domination is the greatest common thread of biodiversity because it takes advantages of his power and consumes all types of resources by endangering the life of other species. Biodiversity is very important for balancing our terrestrial uh, ecosystem and our other ecosystem. Humans are also responsible for pollution and unwanted elements in the environment. Biodiversity conservation is very important for the sustainability of a healthier earth by preserving and protecting uh, our ecosystem and natural resources. Human beings are dependent for their health, as we know very well, for our well-being, for our environment, and the life which we have, which we sustain on this planet. And people, all of us, we get food and many things in the form of medicines, industrial products from the wild as well as domestic components of biological diversity. So, a sustainable community takes into account and addresses multiple human needs, not just one at the exclusion of all other. It is a place where people of diverse backgrounds and perspectives feel welcome and safe, where every group has a seat at the decision making table and where prosperity is shared. It takes a long term perspective focusing on anticipating and adapting to change in both the present and future. So, a sustainable community manages its human, natural, and financial capital to meet current needs, which ensuring that adequate resources are available for the future generations. With 1 million species of plants and animals facing extinction, there has never been a more critical time to focus on the problem of biodiversity. The year 2020 is a critical year for nations' commitments to preserving and restoring biodiversity. Biodiversity is the variation of earth, terrestrial, freshwater, and marine species, as well as their habitats. Biodiversity is vital to the survival of all life on earth and is also the cornerstone for the goods and services of the environment that allow human societies to thrive. Biodiversity provides us with food, water, and resources, as well as services such as climate control, pollination, food, mitigation, and cycling of nutrients. Ecosystem are relying on all parts from the smallest bacterium to the largest vertebrate. It is all interconnected. Some are providing oxygen that the other are breathing. Some provide food for larger species, which in turn become prey to even larger species. Every living organism has a role to play in the maintenance of balance. The food we eat, the air we breathe, the water we drink, and the climate that makes our planet habitable all come from nature. And for instance, each year marine plants produce more than a half of our atmospheric oxygen, and a mature tree cleans our air, absorbing 22 kilos of carbon dioxide, releasing oxygen in exchange. So, in that way, the biodiversity is very important. And despite all the benefits that our nature gives us, we still mistreat it. So biodiversity is very important for our day-to-day life because human beings are dependent for their health, well-being, and for our enjoyment of life. It nourishes us in many ways for our basic biological system processes. People get food and many medicine industrial products from the wild and domesticated components of biological diversity. So there are many benefits of biodiversity. We will not discuss all. I'll give some emphasis on the economic aspect. So, economic benefit through biodiversity is classified as two types, that is direct and indirect. So, directly, whatever we get from the nature, so these we know very well that goods that can be directly valued and costed because they provide something that can be extracted and sold. These goods include everything uh, from all the domesticated agricultural crops that form the basis of the world's food supply to medicines and protect and cure us to the fibers that make up the clothes we wear, the goods food, building material, fuel, paper products. So these all things we are getting directly from the natural resources, and the medicines also we get from the natural resources. Biodiversity prospecting is the process of searching of naturally occurring organisms that may be able to use as a pharmaceutical or other beneficial innovations. Apart from this, indirectly, we get lot many things from the nature. Biodiversity also provides critical indirect benefits to human that are difficult to quite because we have never had to put a price tag on them. Obviously, all these things we cannot measure. We cannot calculate how much we are getting from the nature in our day-to-day life. When we give money for an oxygen cylinder, then only we'll come to know the importance of a tree, how much oxygen we are consuming on daily basis. So these benefits encompass ecosystem services such as air, the water purification, climate regulation, and the generation of moisture and oxygen. Profitable and sustainable farms rely on goods and services from nature such as soil, water, air, nutrient cycling, pollination, and pest control. These goods and services are often called ecosystem services. And there are lot many examples. Without diversity, there would be no ecosystem services and vice versa. For example, soil, which allows us to grow food in the form of crops. So we cannot be found without, soil cannot be found without the insect, the microbes, the fungi, the bacteria, and the other matters. In such way, vegetation also helps cycle moisture into the atmosphere. A single corn plant can transfer 60 gallons of water from soil to atmosphere in a few months. That generally it is not visible. That's why we don't know about all these things. because nature is playing very important role in our lives. A single rainforest tree in its 100-year lifespan can transfer approximately 2.5 million gallons from soil to air, and their role in the hydrologic cycle is crucial. Same in case of soil, a multiplicity of organisms is required to create soil and maintain fertility through complex cycles and interactions. Plant roots break up rock to create soil particles. Small animals like earthworm, mites, insects, microorganisms, and millipedes help give soil its texture and fertility and are crucial to its aeration. So all these things, uh, despite all these benefits that our nature gives us, we still mistreat it. And that is why we need to work on that. That's why we need this observance. World Environment Day is most renowned for environmental action. Since 1974, it has been celebrated every year on 5th June, engaging governments, businesses, celebrities, and citizens to focus their efforts on a pressing environmental issue. Recent events from bushfires in Brazil, the United Nations, and Australia to locust infestation across East Africa, and now a global disease pandemic that is COVID 19 demonstrate the interdependence of humans and the webs of life in which they exist. But do we really know its importance? Maybe our biodiversity travel will help. Biodiversity is the foundation that supports all life on land and below water. It affects every aspect of human health, providing clear air and the water, nutritious food, scientific understanding, mitigation, changing or removing one element of this web affects the entire life system and can produce negative consequences. Human action, including deforestation, encroachment on wildlife habitats, intensified agriculture, and acceleration of climate change, have pushed nature beyond its limit. It would take 1.6 Earths to meet the demands that humans make of nature each year. As Dr. Girish also told, that the major problem is population, to have to pay attention on this, that population should be controlled so that we will face less problem. If we continue on this path, biodiversity loss will have severe implications for humanity, including the collapse of food and health system. The emergence of COVID-19 has underscored the fact that when we destroy biodiversity, we destroy the system and supports human life. Today, it is estimated that generally about 1 billion cases in the world of illness and the millions of deaths occur every year from diseases caused by coronaviruses. And about 75% of all emerging infectious diseases in humans are zoonotic, meaning they are transmitted to people by animals. As corona is also considered that it is transmitted, this COVID-19, through the bat. Nature is sending us a message. Over the last few months, the scientific community has repeatedly sounded the alarm on biodiversity, breakdown, and the climate emergency. Scientists and most governments agree that the world is facing an unprecedented environmental crisis with huge numbers of species on the brink of extinction and global temperatures continuing to rise. Nature-based solutions offer the best way to achieve human well-being, addresses climate change and protect the planet. Yet nature is in crisis as we are losing species at a rate 1,000 times greater than any other time in the recorded human history. Humans depend on their very survival on stable and healthy ecosystem, and urgent action is needed in 2020 to get the world on track to a more sustainable future. This is a super year for the environment, a make or break year in which key international meetings will set the tone and agenda for environmental action in the decade ahead. In some way, India could be considered test case for the rest of the world as it works out how to feed its population of 1.3 billion people in a sustainable way. This challenge is to achieve this feed without degrading the land, soil, and water resources, without destroying the country's rich diversity of flora and fauna, or causing serious smoke in cities like Delhi and other metropolitan. One project implemented by India National Biodiversity Authority and supported by the United Nations Environment Program, that is UNEP, through funding by the Global Environment Facility, helped to achieve this through improved biodiversity utilization for improved rural livelihoods. This project ran from 2011 to 2019. India is a leading country in having established a comprehensive legal and institutional system to realize the objective of the Convention on Biological Diversity. The National Biodiversity Authority is recognized globally for its pioneering work to implement the convention and fully operational the access and access the benefit sharing provisions among others through a national network on biodiversity management committees along with the establishment of people diversity register. Biodiversity management committees are local level statutory bodies based on the 2002 Act and are required the selection and involvement of at least two women members through a democratic selection process and are vested with the enormous responsibilities. The committees lead local processes of reaching constant in assessing bioresources by the proposed users, including researchers, private companies, the governments. This encourages sustainable use and documentation of available resources through people's biodiversity registers as well as through the decision-making processes for the conservation and sustainable use of biological resources. Many people may not uh, know that India has significant global hotspots of biodiversity. For instance, we can take the example of Sikkim, which has approximately 422 species of birds, 697 species of butterflies, 4,005 species of flowering plants, 365 species of ferns and ferns alleles, and a rich diversity of orchids. I have also worked on orchids of Northwest Himalaya, and during the course of my research for those 4 years, I found that the species was very much there. Every year or after every gap of few years, there were the formation of new species, and this group of orchids, this group of plants that is orchids, is known for species very much. So, United Nations Environment Program can change the world for the better. This will be accomplished by bringing together their respective governments, businesses, media, institutions of higher education, and local NGOs to improve the lives of the people in their country by the year 2030. And this is possible, and we can see this may enhance the following things. Because of this, we can eliminate poverty, we can erase hunger, establish good health and well-being, provide quality education, enforce gender equality, improve clean water and sanitation, grow affordable and clean energy, create decent work and economic growth, increase industry innovation and infrastructure, reduce inequality, mobilize sustainable cities and communities, influence responsible consumption and production, organize climate action, develop life below water, advance life on land, guarantee peace, justice, and strong institutions, build partnership for the goals. So, international concern to develop sustainability and changes to act upon the inherent links between our economy, society, and environment, and is leading to increasing acknowledgement of biodiversity importance. This presentation discusses the wideness of way in which biodiversity can support sustainable development. It uses the Sustainable Development Goals, that is SDGs, as a basis for exploring scientific evidence of the benefit delivered by biodiversity. We acknowledge potential negative impacts and trade-offs between different benefits, and study concludes that biodiversity may contribute to fulfill all the sustainable development goals. So this is all about my presentation, and once again I'm thankful to the organizers of this e-webinar, and I wish them all the best for the future webinar also on the same as per the other. Thank you very much once again.
Thank you, Dr. Samuel Gordon Singh, sir, for a wonderful presentation on biodiversity and sustainable development. From your talk, I understood one thing: we do not inherit the earth from our ancestors, but borrowed from our future generations. Through your talk, you could make us understand about marine diversity, and you also opened a scope of research for various fields like climate change, air, soil, water, flora, fauna, and a study on significant ecosystem. And not only for science students, science researchers, but also for all fields of knowledge, for arts, commerce, and science, medical professionals, even the people who are practicing law. There is a lot of scope on biodiversity and its sustainable development. And again, through your talk, you made us understand about the significance and benefits of biodiversity and economic benefit through direct and indirect benefit we get from biodiversity, and also above all the sustenance of the community who lives in the forest, and complete elimination of poverty from the earth. Through this, we can achieve only through the research. Research results are very important for biodiversity conservation, then can be woven into community development programs. Research results are also used by conservators and development activists, journalists, government decision makers, and even business. The creation and application of technologies are also benefits of biodiversity conservation research. Technologies are invented, selected, evaluated, tested, and applied to solve the specific problems. It can be transformed from rich countries to poor countries and developing countries like us. But again, now through your discussion, I think that we can also transfer technology and knowledge from our resources to develop the countries too. Thank you very much for the elaborate talk on sustainable development and biodiversity. Now this forum is open for question answer. So I request our honorable co-conveners, Dr. Praveen Tyagi, Dr. Ramkumar Saraswat, Dr. David Danishmasi, and Dr. Mahima Habil, Dr. Padma Hazra, to select questions from chat box, and it is open for discussion, and our panelists are ready to answer. Dr. Praveen Tyagi, Dr. Ramkumar Saraswat, and I also request Dr. Samuel Gordon Singh sir to stop screen sharing app. Can you use it? There is a, yes, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, Dr. Mahima Habil, Dr. Padma Hasra, Dr. Mahima Habil, Dr. David Mercy, Dr. Ramkumar Saraswat, Dr. Praveen Tyagi, can you unmute your mic and ask questions?
Thank you, madam.
Okay.
No question at all. Very nice and informative session during the expert of our college staff and previously from the forest ranger, from Gujarat, Chief Forester.
Okay.
Very nice informative session. So we enjoy it.
Yes.
And as the last day is the World Environment Day, and we have taken this lecture as a environment and diversity.
Yes.
Thankful to you, ma'am, and all our staff, principal sirs,
yes,
and joining participants. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Okay, now, Dr. Mahima, you have any queries?
Yes, ma'am. One small question.
Yes.
How can we protect our nature for future pandemics?
Okay.
A general question. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. So, kindly, Dr. Girish Meshi, sir, and Dr. Samuel Gordon Singh, sir, unmute your mic. I see it is muted now. Kindly unmute and answer the query.
So as Dr. Mahima is asking, how can we protect us from future pandemic? Unlike you, we are all confused what will happen in the coming time. Everything is uncertain nowadays, so we cannot predict, we cannot do any forecast for all these things. But the only thing we can save our lives by taking precautions. That's what all the scientists and medical, especially, they are suggesting us. Rest, I think Dr. Girish can put some light on this.
Exactly. Dr. Girish,
friends, once the species is extinct, revival is not possible of the same species, but related species can be evolved. It depends on the so many circumstances, but that is sure that extinct one will not be revived.
Okay.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
I have one question.
Dr. Padma Hasra?
I have one question, sir. Is biodiversity a kind of resilience towards the COVID-19 which has come upon us? Is biodiversity a kind of resilience towards the COVID-19 which has come upon us? This is my question. Can it somehow help for our preservation?
See, in relation to the COVID-19, the virus is involved is SARS-CoV-2 second.
Yes, sir.
Related to the biodiversity, a term which are using zoonosis.
Yes.
Zoonosis means the disease-causing pathogen coming from animal to human.
Yes, sir.
Right? If the pathogen having more than one reservoir, it can spread very fast.
Okay, sir.
But here in this case, it's difficult to say whether this is the reservoir or not. We cannot conclude anything because there is no researches on the subject. Even we do not know the simple biology of the COVID virus. So difficult to explain anything, difficult to predict anything.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Rochit, any
Much,
questions?
sir.
No, thank you, madam.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, one question from Amit Vincent.
Yes.
Though evolution is not that slow, we think, if new species are evolving, is there any way to anticipate their compatibility with human through aluminum and new technologies? I don't know that is AL, what means AL and new technology.
Artificial intelligence.
Artificial intelligence, okay.
AI
Artificial and new technology.
Sir.
Now see, in this case, you are talking in relation to the evolution. Things are going to evolve continuously. Even we, human beings, are evolving continuously, but it is so gradual, you cannot observe. So if we are having some difficulty in terms of some chemical, our body would like to adopt accordingly. And definitely, there will be some new genes. I would like to tell you that in the genome project, there is nearby 1 lakh genes in our body, but only 20 to 25,000 are active. 75,000 are inactive. Any of the chemical can stimulate any of the DNA, and that character may appear in the human. So it is possible. Evolution is possible, it is going on, it will remain continue forever. But observation is not so easy because the damaging DNA identification is something very complicated. But mutation we can identify definitely. So by these two techniques, we can work out on the evolution process, in which direction we are moving. But it is possible.
Okay, thank you, sir.
So one more question from my side. You talked about mutation of the gene. So the mutation depends upon the active gene or the recessive gene in the formation of new species, sir.
I'm not able to perceive because sound is echo. Can you speak a little bit slow?
Sir, you talked about mutation. I just had a thought. The mutation in new species formed from the older one are more based upon the active gene of the present species or the recessive gene, like the 75% you told that they are not participating, but they are there. So the linking would be with the recessive or the dominant one.
It is not necessary. It depends on the situation. What kind of genes is going to swarm off and what kind of genes is going to be activated. So we cannot predict anything. It depends on the situation. So prediction is very difficult. Especially in case of mutation, what you're talking about, mutation we cannot predict. It may be negative, it may be positive. It may be in a different direction, which may be useful to the animal, or maybe a negative direction may be harmful to the animal. There's hundreds of examples in the evolutionary history.
Thank you, sir.
Any other question? Dr. Ramkumar Saraswat? Dr. David, any more question?
No, ma'am, thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Dr. Mahima Habil, any other question?
Ma'am, one question is coming from the chat.
Yes.
Actually, extinction is morally a problem, but biologically evolution is there not to worry about extinction. From Shifali Singh.
So that's what Dr. Girish shared in his lecture, that evolution is a continuous process, so there is no need to worry about anything. It is a keeping on process, the species will go off and the new species will be formed. As Dr. David also asked about mutation, this is also one of the fact that also comes under this process only. That there are not many factors which are already already in continuous manner in the environment, and the Almighty God has created this nature in such a way that the life will go on, but in some other way. But nothing will extend. Only there will be some transformation of life.
Thank you, sir.
So are you satisfied? Do you want something more?
It
You
was from Shivali Sharma.
you can
So we
put
can
some
spend
light
more
on this.
clarity on this,
Yes.
if you like.
See, in biological evolution, there's two major components. One is on the basis of ecological aspect, other on the genomic level. See, behavioral aspect is considered the workshop of evolution. Similarly, on the other hand, at the genomic level, this is not gradual, this is sudden changes comes, mutation occurs, and a new species is formed. But in the ecological aspect, there is gradual. There may be hundreds of steps to reach a final stage, or maybe so many subspecies in between. So in the biological one, this is gradual, and in between number of subspecies, but at the genomic level, there is instinct change in the gene and new species emerge out. You got my point?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Dr. Mohammed Anis, Dr. Rajiv John, Dr. Anidanand, Dr. Praveen, Dr. Ramkumar Saraswat, Dr. Padma Hazra, Dr. David Mazzi, Dr. Mahima Habil. Any other questions?
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so then we will move on. Now I would like to invite Dr. Anida V.K. Anand, co-convener of webinar and associate professor of Department of Chemistry, to express vote of thanks.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, yes, it's audible.
Is it audible?
Audible, yes, yes.
Okay. I just want to thank each and everyone at this time for participating in the webinar 4. And we had a real nice time as we heard the various lectures from Dr. M.M. Sharma, from Dr. Girish Maheshwari, from Dr. Samuel Gott. So let me first of all thank, on behalf of the Department of Chemistry, St. John's College, and now I extend my heartfelt thankfulness and gratitude to Professor Ashok Mittal, Chief Patron and Vice Chancellor of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar University. Thank you, sir, for your encouragement and helping us to hold this webinar. I'm so grateful on behalf of the Department of Chemistry. I'm so grateful and thankful to our principal and patron, Professor Dr. S.P. Singh, for his encouragement, his motivation. He has always stood with us in providing the platform and all the support that we needed for various webinars, programs, and projects also in the past. We thank you so much, sir, for always encouraging us, motivating us. I thank at this time Dr. Dr. M.M. Sharma, who is the chief and principal of Conservation of Forest Gujarat, the chairman of Biodiversity Gujarat. He explained how the large scale patterns of biodiversity are. He explained the biodiversity of the values of biodiversity and its impact on ecology. He explained the anthropogenic impacts on climate and on biodiversity. It was a beautiful lecture, sir, altogether interesting. I thank you so much. And he also gave us a detailed report on how the various species are on extinction, and the various species are in danger of extinction. And it was a very nice and interesting lecture. I also thank Dr. Girish Maheshwari, Head of Zoology Department, School of Entomology of St. John's College. He has given a beautiful lecture on biodiversity of Northwest Himalaya wetland. And it was so interesting to understand that how these insects, they cope up in the cold atmosphere under the covering of the ice, and how they cope up. They still remain alive and in the snow, and how they form a protective layer uh, by penetrating bioprotectant, and how they give rise to many new different species. Thank you, sir, for that informative, innovative study that you have done in the wetlands of Northwest Himalaya. And it was very interesting. Not only this, but you encourage the future generations to come, and you have opened a door for them to study on the biodiversity in the genome and evolution studies. And thank you so much, sir, for this interactive session that we really had from you. And we once again extend from the Department of Chemistry a big thank you to you. I now thank Dr. Samuel Gordon, the head of Botany Department, that he has given us a very informative study on biodiversity and on the sustainable development. And he has also told us the solution of the problem of the biodiversity is within the biodiversity. And we are responsible as human beings for many things. And if we want to sustain our ecosystem, it is we who have to work hard, and we who have to, in turn, take care of our ecosystem. And it is so important, the ecosystem is so important to maintain the biodiversity, which in turn, it is important that it maintains all the living systems, which impacts our economy, which impacts our health, which impacts our food, our vegetation, and everything that comes, living and non-living. Everything is directly related to how the biodiversity is affected, how it is so vital for each one of us. You also helped us to understand that there are so many various programs, national and international. You helped participants to know that there are so many openings for research. And thank you for this. Thank you for this information, sir, that you have given. And your lecture was very informative. And I think Susan Varghese is also the convener of our program. She takes the initiative of calling so many eminent speakers and helping us to understand about what we are going through during this pandemic, and helps us to understand how we can cope up with this, and how we can be responsible, and how we can interact with everything that is going around us these days. Thank you, ma'am, so much. I also am so thankful to all my department people who have been a real help and encouragement for each one of us. They have supported, all of us have supported each other to conduct so many webinars. This is the 4th webinar. And I am so much thankful to the technical team also, who has really worked very hard, and they have been supporting, they have been providing, and they have been helping to conduct these webinar series in so much clarity, and it was so much audible to each of the participants who could participate, who could listen to the good lectures that we had from the very beginning. I thank you all for participating and having made this day a real success for all of us, especially for the Department of Chemistry. And I thank all my colleagues, I thank the speakers, I thank our principal, I thank the team who has conducted this. Thank all of you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Looking forward to meet you on June 11th with international speakers. They are going to, they are presently the professors of University of Saudi Arabia. So they will be joining us on 11th June. Looking forward to meet you soon. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, principal, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am, and all. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you, sir.